Welcome in to the Better Advertising with Better Media podcast. My name is Justin Knuckles. I'm your host, and this is the first time I've gotten to say this in a while, but alongside my co-host, Destiny Wishon. Hi there, Destiny.
Hello, hello.
How are we doing today?
Fantastic. I mean, chaos of Black Friday, Cyber Mondays died down. We're relatively dabbling in circle back season, so I feel fantastic.
I know the heat of the moment has passed us, but still busy till the shipping window closes, so we're still on top of things, but wanted to get together with you today, end of the year here for our podcast, looking back at 2024 in review. We recently put out our Spotify Wrapped stats on LinkedIn and shared those with the community, showing how big this podcast has gotten, which was kind of surprising to me, but wanted to take a step back, both in celebration and kind of looking back at our learnings and moments to celebrate this year. So we'll just start high level. What are your thoughts on the year of 2024 as a whole before we go into specifics?
Well, for one, I could dive into a million different Amazon advertising things, but an aspect of the podcast that I do love is that we get personal and talk about better media in general. And whether or not we realize it, because it's been so chaotic, the rebrand happened less than 12 months ago. So the rebrand happened in, was it January, February? And we haven't even been a full year as Better Media, which is incredible and really exciting.
Yeah, at this time last year, we were speaking as BetterAMS. So I have to remind myself of that as well, is Better Media just went through its first Prime Day, its first Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So we're a whole new company now.
We are. And that's probably the most exciting part is when we, through this rebrand, I mean, we had the original founder of the company, shout out to Taylor, still great friends at this point, decide to exit. Alex and I came back from Cannes and we were like, the vision of the future is so much larger. It's no longer just Amazon marketing services. It's Amazon advertising. It's full funnel. It's retail media in general. And we put pen to paper and we turned around a rebrand in like 60 days, I feel like. And with that rebrand, it wasn't just a name change. And I think that's something that you can probably fill, and I would love to ask you a few questions on as well. But the whole culture of the company changed, as well as the vision. Up until this point, it's like we were really young kids that loved Amazon and we all had a skill set, but we didn't know what that next step was. Now it's like we are Better Media. The BTR is better trust, better transparency, better results, better relationships. And I think every time we show up on a client call, everything we do with content, education, and how we hire and build our culture is really reflected of that. And I've never felt more sure of anything until I saw how well we, as in Better Media, and the community have really embraced the rebrand. So it's been exciting. Justin, from your perspective, when we showed up and you're like, hey, we're doing all of this, what were your thoughts? How did you think that the rebrand in general went?
Yeah, I mean, first off, the whole look and feel of the company is so much more leveled up. I remember we talked about retail media and we knew Amazon was headed in this direction, but to see it outside of what we've always specialized in has been so cool, right? I think we have so many accounts that are now doing, Instacart, Best Buy, Walmart. So we're really starting to grow our reach into those other areas and helping out brands establish their presence off of Amazon, which has been cool to see. In addition to that too, I mean, we're growing this podcast. We're talking to brands that they're not just Amazon sellers, but have established a dominant brand in the marketplace. And we're helping them, really reach those new consumers, really reach those new to brand customers, which has been cool to see us not just be a PPC bottom of the funnel focused agency, but really speaking that full funnel. In addition, with the partnerships with Amazon, learning more about AMC and how to leverage that, which will be an ongoing conversation in this podcast and in future years. In short, I think we've really become that full funnel retail media company.
100%. The brands that we've talked to this year, even if it was as simple as a LinkedIn DM asking me a question or something that the sales and marketing team that, audited and built a marketing plan, or the brands that we have closed and signed, and you're working with many of them, are revolutionizing the space, in my opinion. That is our ideal client who understands their audience, who's building a differentiated product, who is disrupting this space. Like that's Better Media's bread and butter. Because what we see with those brands is, one, they've grown to a certain point that proves they have an incredible product, right? They're not just selling anything and everything on the street for the lowest price product. They have the vision for the future. They understand what retail media is doing. They understand how to connect with their audience. those are the brands that we definitely work best with. And it's been incredibly exciting seeing everything Colby's done on the marketing side expand our reach, everything you've done on the podcast, all of the, different speaking engagements I've gotten the opportunity to have in the last year. It's finally being reflected directly in the brands we're working with. Like the case studies we have are incredible at this point. I mean, we were just looking at one from Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and we had a a newer brand that we recently launched on Amazon go from 200,000 a month in ad sales to 4 million a month in less than 30 days. That case study, I told the team to not even post that case study because it seems so unrealistic. But that's what happens when you have an incredible brand that understands how to create demand.
Absolutely. It's not about listing products. It's about building brands. And we're certainly partnering with people doing the latter, where they're doing a lot externally. They're helping make our lives as advertisers easier. Not that advertising is ever easy, but it helps when people are doing things externally with influencers or additional advertising efforts like Meta. It certainly creates that full funnel strategy, and they understand what they have to do rather than optimizing their keywords for target ROAS on day one.
Most definitely. Before we dive into all of the rollouts we've seen in the last year, all of the changes in the space, how have you felt that the culture has changed? I mean, you've been here since day one, since the first, incredible Mexico retreat. Now here you are. What are the biggest differences, and how do you think the rebrand helped level up not only the brand, but the culture as well?
Yeah, I know it's actually become one of our Better Media values, but better ownership. I think I've seen that across the whole team in the last year, especially where, you raise a hand if you want to go learn a new marketplace such as Criteo or Instacart. If you want it, you can work on it. So I think there's better ownership working with brands, right? We're not having to think about what do I need to do to accomplish the goal today, tomorrow, the next week. You're thinking long-term for the brand and taking ownership over the strategy. I'll leave it there in short, but I mean, from your point of view, looking around the team, what are your thoughts on the culture in terms of what's changed? Because I mean, you really established the culture at BetterAMS and have kind of revolutionized the culture a little bit as we've become Better Media.
Well, it's interesting. In the days of BetterAMS, I don't think we fully understood the opportunity we had or valued the reach that we had. I mean, I will be the first to admit I got lucky. I started posting on LinkedIn 6 years ago. And now that has compounded to, as a team, we have over 100,000 LinkedIn followers. We serve over 3 to 4 million impressions. We're able to lead content and education in the industry. I think we're one of the most trusted voices and one of the most authoritative voices in terms of strategy. And embracing that, starting to be more confident that, look, it's not just me posting content. We have over a 95% retention rate this year. Like, that's a mic drop moment. A 95% retention rate at our growth rate is insane. And that's because the whole team has bought into this mentality of ownership, competitiveness, but also I would say just appreciating the values, right? The communication, the integration with the brands that we're working with. It is a testament to how incredible the team is. I used to have a ton of insecurity that, I was posting the content, I was training and educating, but were we able to do it at scale? And that is what we are proving we can do today. And I think it is most reflected in the retention rate and the growth rate. I think that the next kind of 2 to 3 years are going to be about continuing to maintain this direction, being a little bit more systematic about where we're going and how we're doing it, but continuing to hire people that have that level of ownership, that are just willing to jump in. I never want to be the, Ford assembly line agency. That does not sound exciting to me, saying, Justin, go do A through Z, nothing else. Don't misstep. That's boring to me. But hiring incredible people at the company that we could just let run, go figure out TikTok shop, do it in a way that is transparent and trustworthy for the client. That is incredibly exciting to me. And I think it's reflected in a part of our vision, which is we don't want to be the biggest. Like 500 person agency loses soul, in my opinion. But we do want to be the best in everything that we do.
And I think that kind of pairs together with what I was saying with ownership really well, where, Adam's doing a great job of training everybody on the team around Amazon ads, but he's not training them how to go post on LinkedIn. And yet you look at everybody around the team has killer LinkedIn posts, killer followings. Adam and I just getting together one day being like, let's create a DSP series on the podcast.
And it go viral.
Yeah. Hiring great people who take ownership, I think, has really been taken up to another level this year with our culture?
That's always a fun question as an agency owner. I get asked a ton of different things, but one of them is, how do you get your team to buy into LinkedIn? I'm like, well, I don't know. It just happens. I think there's so much excitement around it. And, we have a lot of enthusiasm. And I think the team has started gamifying it. It's nothing mandatory, but it is kind of a fun gamified thing of who can find the newest update and who can post. I think the caveat to this, I always tell people, is your team's going to be 300% more scoutable. I think there's recruiters in everyone's DMs because they work at BetterAMS Media, which is really cool and exciting. And, I know other agencies and software companies that have actually said, no, let's put restrictions around what the team can post and the content they're posting, because it is risky, of course. I mean, we've had our fair share of issues in that regard. But at the end of the day, it definitely keeps us accountable to taking care of our talent, making sure that the culture we have is the way that it is, because we are retaining talent just as well as we retain amazing clients.
It also helps when you have a lot of former athletes on the team who are very competitive, and you see someone get ahead of you in your LinkedIn following or the number of posts they've made. And I need to get more on top of this.
I'm pretty sure 40% of our team right now was a D1 softball or baseball player, which is the most random stat because it's like all over the US. It's not anything that we're trying to attract per se. It just naturally happens. So if you want to know like what a Better Media offsite is, it's like tackling people playing spoons. It's, a ton of different spike ball, ping pong challenges. Like we're going to need to increase our insurance policy just because of that.
Yeah, I think we've bent a few spoons in the spoons game. But aside from culture, that's getting a little bit into the weeds of Amazon here in 2024. What have been some of the biggest maybe learnings, maybe their rollouts? What have been some of the biggest takeaways that are pretty essential that we maybe take for granted here in December? We heard about their rollout earlier this year and we're like, holy crap, this is a game changer.
Yeah. Well, one of the benefits to leading content and education is we get to test and learn a ton because the majority of our clients come to us for that reason. They give us budgets to test and learn all of the new innovations that's been rolled out across platforms. I would say in general, the two biggest things that we saw across retail media platforms and with Amazon is focusing more on creative, for one, and two, releasing more data and giving more insight so brands can make better decisions. And, those two alone are really exciting and we can dive into the specifics, but you then layer in the element of AI. And it's been a catalyst to both of those areas. So it's fun. Like I always joke that within Amazon advertising, you can log in every 7 days and you're going to see something new, which puts a lot of pressure on teams like ours to be incredible, succeed, and test everything. But I mean, in the last year, we saw Sponsor Brands Video AI. We saw Creative Studio be rolled out, which is 100% AI-enabled imagery studio from everything from video to lifestyle images. We saw custom images start being AI populated within Ad Console, sponsored display lifestyle images and video getting expansion. On the data side, we saw more placements and reporting. We're now getting long-term ROAS reporting. We have AMC. The biggest theme that Amazon is pushing and that is challenging the industry to also push is it's no longer just about listing a product, as we mentioned. Anyone could do that, right? We saw this rush of sellers on Amazon saying, I'm going to undercut you by $2 and this is my product. That's no longer fantastic strategy. I think it's all about brand building and how do you build a brand while you connect with your audience? How do you connect with your audience? Well, you understand who your buyer is and you understand where to target them in their journey, which means you need more access to analytics and AMC. The second thing is, how do you stand out to that specific niche audience while you customize your creative to specifically target that person at the right point in time? So that's the direction we're seeing the industry go. And there's about 70,000 updates, I feel like, under that umbrella that we could talk about.
Yeah, as I was thinking about this question, when we were getting ready to chat about 2024 as a whole, I mean, those were the two topics that came to my mind too, was the betterment of the AI studio. I think that was rolled out, not this past unboxed in Austin, but 2 years ago at New York. And at first it wasn't all that great, right? It looked very Photoshop-esque. But over the last year, I've seen these images become incredible. The AI studio has only gotten better. And so if you don't have, an incredible graphic designer or photo team, it's only leveling up those kinds of brands to be on par with, the Coca-Colas and other brands. So I know you just made a LinkedIn post about this, but it helps you be relevant around the time of year, right? You just did a Coca-Cola post showing them in kind of a holiday Christmas time. So the AI studio has only gotten better, and I imagine it's only going to get better as we go into 2025. In addition to AMC, right? We're still kind of picking apart this, what it can do, what, access can it give us. So speaking with brands, even in the last few weeks, they're saying my agency doesn't even know how to use AMC. They don't know what this is about, how to use it. And so, we're still ourselves humbly still figuring it out, but we've done a lot with, creating custom audiences with AMC, pulling data from AMC, understanding path to purchase, media mix. So I think those are my two biggest trends and like betterments of Amazon this year has been the AI studio and the data with AMC.
Most definitely. And I think it can be really overwhelming because of all the changes and how quickly everything updates. And that's where the progress over perfection conversation, I think, is really important. It's something that we focus on as an agency. There's no perfect answer, especially because brands are so differentiated in what makes them successful. Like you shouted out the mid-sized brands, right? Historically, they didn't have the budgets to go purchase a national media campaign and to shoot a, $500,000 commercial that they were going to display all over the US. Nowadays, they can create an incredible video with AI or, with a scrappy agency and then go run a streaming TV campaign for a $15,000 budget. Those are the brands that, again, are our ICP and our sweet spot because they now have the opportunity to compete with the big guys. It's no longer just pay to play. It's really who's moving the quickest and who's the most strategic. No, it's not going to be perfect. That's the value of the space that we're in. It moves way too quickly. No one's doing what we're doing perfectly. That's from AMC to AI to just general Amazon advertising strategy. But it's the progress. It's the people that are willing to test and disrupt the industry that I think are going to have the most advantageous opportunities in the next 2 years.
Absolutely. Also looking back at 2024 and some of the biggest learnings, improvements, I want to take a little bit of a look in the mirror here and shout out our developer, Dustin, for building us incredible tech. Like, let's take a moment to shout out the Better Media tech, which we often talk about with new clients. It makes our lives so much easier as account managers. It makes us look so great, is everything that Dustin's doing on the tech side.
Absolutely. And it's not just about Amazon ads. He's been incredibly innovative in how we view account management and operations. I mean, one of the biggest weaknesses you see in the agency model is agencies are, thin margins. So they typically spread their talent too thin. That's a story over and over again. You give one account manager 20 different accounts. Well, the best way to mitigate that is by creating incredible tech that allows for not just Amazon advertising results in terms of ACoS and ROAS, but also operational efficiency. When my team has bid management, keyword research, campaign structure, and reporting down lock because we have tech to enable that, they can focus on all of the new things that give the brand that cutting edge in the space. It's, strategizing on, how do we win this billboard ad top of search, but also invest in the streaming TV ad because we have proven that with AMC, the streaming TV drives awareness and increases conversion, right? Those are the conversations I want my team having because everything else is taken care of through incredible tech. And I would say, a lot of software companies are incredible when it comes to ad management. But Dustin's understanding of just operations as a whole is kind of what I would say is next level, as well as our ability to still create custom solutions for clients. I think the differentiation between strategy across brands is a wider variance than people probably realize. Like there's no one size fits all solution for Amazon ads. Dustin allows us to, systemize everything that needs to be systemized, but allow a lot of flexibility and customization for each brand that we're working on.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it gives us the ability to do everything we need to do, but it's not a one size fits all solution. We can still, custom tag and optimize campaigns based on what the client's objectives are. If you want to be super profit focused and maintain a certain ROAS, great. We have the tech to do that. If you want to be super aggressive and optimize for conversion rate and top of search impression share, like we can do those things too. So it takes all the heavy lifting off our backs, but allows us to customize solutions for people. And I think everyone I've shown the time series brand metrics to is blown away by it. Like, I can't believe Amazon hasn't done this, right? They give it to us week by week, month by month, but it's so hard to visualize it over time. And so all these little improvements help better the conversations with our clients rather than getting in the weeds of things that don't matter.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the key things we've discussed is we don't want to try to compete directly with Amazon ads. No one's going to be able to compete with the speed of those development teams. That would be absolutely insane. So everything we build is to complement the platform. I mean, I never want to hear an ad manager at Better Media say I haven't logged into Ad Console in a few days because Ad Console is still getting a lot of the first mover rollouts. And everything we're building is to complement Ad Console. We didn't recreate brand metrics. We took brand metrics and had a completely new visualization that allows brands to now see month over month, week over week, conversion to category performance metrics. So it's like, how do we take what's given to us and just make it a little bit better? This eases our financial burden from a SaaS perspective, but also gives, again, our clients and our account managers an opportunity to be cutting edge.
Absolutely. Well, any other thoughts on 2024 before we look forward to 2025 and maybe what we're more excited about for next year?
I don't think so. I mean, anyone who's unsure of any of the updates we've discussed here, you need to check out our LinkedIn. It's impossible for us to timestamp every single thing that was rolled out across Unboxed, Accelerate in the last quarter, but also just looking back in the last 12 months. The industry moves so dang quick. I mean, we have placement modifiers, sponsored ads, AMC, again, new streaming TV advantages, new reporting across both search and DSP. Like, it's insane. So check out all of our LinkedIn, follow our newsletter, follow our YouTube. Everything we're doing with content now, we're trying to basically 10x. So yeah, definitely subscribe.
And if you missed everything we've been chatting about this year, be sure to start following now because we're still going to be talking about all the updates, like you said, coming weekly, more than likely next year. So stay tuned now.
Probably 10x.
Yeah, it's only going to get busier, especially as we're dabbling in other marketplaces now and sharing learnings on Walmart, Best Buy, Criteo, Instacart, etc. Just expect more content next year. Well, with that said, let's look forward to 2025. What are you most excited about for next year? Maybe some new advancements from Amazon they announced late this year, or just in general as company, BTR Media. What are we excited about next year?
I think I hate saying it because it's such a buzzword, but AI is going to continue to expand. We're seeing a lot being done on the video front. And I think as Amazon pushes innovation upper funnel across streaming TV and kind of connecting it to the bottom of the funnel metrics with sponsored products, it's going to be a huge opportunity for brands to connect to an audience that they never did before. I think retail media network consolidation is probably something we're going to start seeing. It's not easy to scale every single retail media network, so I'm expecting some level of roll up on that end. But also as Better Media, we're expanding, per our clients' request into some of these new arenas that are going to open up a lot of opportunity for brands who feel like maybe they're stuck in the Amazon or Walmart bucket. It's like, hey, where can we find a new network that's maybe going to provide not as high of a reach, but a good reach opportunity for a lot cheaper budgets? I think that's something that we're definitely going to be playing into. I've personally been dabbling into some TikTok shop aspects. Anyone who's made it this far in the podcast, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn if you think this is an opportunity Better Media should move forward on. I hopped on a call with someone earlier this week and I'm excited about it. I think TikTok Shop is incredibly innovative. I think their audience and reach is incredible, which is typically the biggest struggle with, releasing a new marketplace. But I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to dive into. So that's my biggest excitements into the new year.
Yeah, I think the new marketplaces are going to be a whole world of opportunity for next year. And me being a little more in the weeds on certain accounts, I'm super excited about some of these rollouts they announced from Unboxed earlier this year being, multi-touch attribution. I know this question has come up when we look at AMC data, as we referred to, right? Path to purchase. It's like, okay, great. Which sponsored product campaign and sponsored brand and sponsored display campaign are working together to create the best customer path? And it's like, we'll soon be able to answer that, assumingly, with this multi-touch attribution model. So
I would also say with the more data and the more upper funnel initiatives, something that we're seeing is performance budgets and brand budgets are starting to converge a little bit. I think the brands that can fluidly move across the two a little bit quicker than maybe what a typical fiscal budget does are being really successful. I understand the reason against that fluidity, But at the end of the day, as we see this middle of the funnel opportunity being unlocked, like as we discussed, a streaming TV campaign can be tied back directly to a sponsored product ad. So once you know that data, you can move your budget and say, hey, my branded search is down this month. My new customer acquisition's down this month. Maybe I should allocate more budget into my TV or my DSP campaigns, knowing that, hey, my sponsored product ROAS, my upper funnel ROAS in general may decrease, but my sponsored product ROAS may increase as those branded searches go up. A lot of people don't view them as the same, but at the end of the day, we know the path to purchase is not linear. Someone views a TikTok and then they go check out the Instagram and then they decide to type in the brand name on Amazon and then they don't purchase, but maybe they add to cart. And then you run a AMC audience to target everyone with a sponsored product ad who added to cart but did not purchase, right? That's impossible to track. It's way too many data points. Like incrementality is going to be a huge discussion because of that. But you also think about what that does to your budget and how you can be a lot more flexible with those budget adjustments. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah. And I think the multi-touch attribution really helps answer where should I be putting budgets more specifically, right? Which campaigns are really being lifted by running sponsored TV or getting these external placements that are improving the conversion rate on some of these really cutthroat targets and keywords, right? I'd rather get my ad in front of someone who's previously seen my upper funnel tactics rather than someone who's just now searching for a generic keyword, right? So AMC, I think, is only going to help us out next year. But let's see, anything else on the 2025 planning? Again, AI, like you mentioned, I think is going to be fantastic. I'm excited to see how it turns into video. The AI studio with images has been great. I'm excited to see what this is going to look like with video. But anything else on the 2025 look ahead?
I would say, just to keep an eye on our team. We want to continue to educate the market. And I think the balance that we have is we've been producing content for 7 years. How do we create new content? We don't always need to create new content. It's how do we, increase our reach? How do we improve the questions that we're answering and make sure we're directly connecting with our audience? So that's one of the areas of just Better Media in general I'm really excited about is, seeing the growth of the podcast this year, seeing what else we can continue to do with LinkedIn. But I would also shout out for anyone listening who's, followed us, but maybe never had a conversation with us. Content is the number one driver of our business. We don't have an outbound sales team. We're not, cold DMing people on LinkedIn or cold emailing people. I don't love that. Everything we do is from content, which means every like, every comment, every engagement, share, referral is the 100% growth driver for our company. So really grateful for that. Just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's listened in the last year, who shared our podcast. You are the driver behind this small business. And I think that's been pretty incredible.
Yeah. To every single pair of ears that's listening to us speak, I really appreciate it. We love sharing this information. Like education is what we love to do before advertising. So I appreciate it and continue sharing this with anybody and everyone who needs this podcast. And again, reach out to us on LinkedIn. Would love to chat, talk about what specific problems you're facing. We're always available. Our DMs are always open.
Always more than happy to help and incredibly grateful for everything we've built for as little resources as we've had. I think that's been pretty incredible success story.
Last question, Destiny, more on the personal side for you. I know you're a big reader. What are some of your favorite books or your favorite single book that you've read this year, if you have one?
I would say it's been one of my absolute favorite books this year, Unreasonable Hospitality. Just because I came from the service industry, I came from the country club vibe, and Unreasonable Hospitality is a fantastic book on one, how much you can influence your culture with great hospitality, but how every single touch point or interaction you have with a human, whether it's serving them desserts or at a hostess stand, can influence someone's livelihood. And that's really cool because everything we do is, people to people as we're growing this business. So the hospitality isn't just maintaining a 95% retention rate, which I'm incredibly proud about, but also, having those positive interactions through Slack or through LinkedIn that really showcase what our culture is about. I mean, I think multiple people have called out that there's something about Better Media. It's just the vibe of Better Media because of how hospitable we are, I believe, and how we've continued to attract talent that maintains that vibe.
Absolutely. I think every day I sign in, I'm never in a bad mood, but it's impossible to be in a bad mood when you're chatting on Slack. Half the Slack chats are, account ideas. And then the other half is memes and GIFs and jokes and making fun of maybe it's Dest one day, maybe it's Alex the next day, maybe it's Adam the next. So we're a very, I think, fun team to be around, and it's encouraging every single day. So I just wanted to ask that question on a leadership level, what your favorite book was this year. I think that's always something people like to hear.
Definitely. And I think that's a unique one that's maybe not making its rounds within our community near as often.
Yeah, come talk to Better Media. You'll understand the vibe right away. If you're around at a conference next year, I'm sure you're going to see one or multiple of us. So come up and chat, and would love to get to meet you all.
Definitely that. I know CES, Accelerate, Patterns Accelerate, Unboxed. We'll be attending all the big ones. So feel free to reach out and we can get some time scheduled. And Justin, again, thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much for joining. And we'll chat with all of you guys next year in 2025. But like you said earlier, if you're not already following or subscribing to the podcast, be sure to do so you don't miss any future episodes. And we'll catch you all next year. Thank you so much.